Hey guys, Mark here. Thank you for joining me. Today's project is a lashed stand. This one can be used for all sorts of purposes, from a phone stand to a hot pad. Here is our project up close. It consists out of dowel rods as well as twine. The main technique that's holding everything together is called a floor lashing. On the bottom, the stand is further reinforced using a sort of bracing. I have cut a number of dowel rods. Each is 8 inches long. I have 10 about 3/8 of an inch in diameter and 2 about half an inch in diameter. The 10 thinner ones are going at the top of our stand. The 2 thicker ones are going to be used as the stringers. To do my lashing, I'm going to cut 2 pieces of hemp twine. These pieces are 7 feet long each. To start off, we're going to attach a piece of twine onto one of the 2 thicker dowel rods. Here, we're going to be using the clove hitch. Make a loop, pass it over the dowel rod. Make a second loop, pass it over the dowel rod. Tighten up, forming a clove hitch. Twist the shorter standing end around the longer working end. This is going to secure it into place. Grab one of the top dowel rods, lash it onto the thicker dowel rod. So to do this, we hook on the inner side, so at the back, then at the front. Tighten up your twine as much as possible, keep tension on your twine. Continue with the next dowel rod. Again hooking first on the inner side, so at the back, then at the front. Keeping tension on your twine. The next one, again, same thing. On the inner side, on the outer front side. Do this until you have attached all of your top dowel rods. So, something like this. It's now time to secure our working end onto the thicker dowel rod here. So to do this, I'm going to pass around like this, passing under this outer strand here. Then, I'm simply going to do a couple of more hitches. a loop, pass it over the dowel rod. A second loop, pass it over the dowel rod. For now, this is enough. We've now done one side of our stand from the left side towards the right. Rotate your entire stand like this and repeat the process again from left towards the right. So the lashing process is exactly the same as the one before. Tie a clove hitch to attach your twine onto the dowel rod. A loop, pass it over the dowel rod. A second loop, pass it over the dowel rod. So a clove hitch, twist the short standing end around the longer working end. Lash your first dowel rod, first on the inner or back side, then at the front, really tightening up your lashing. Do the next one exactly the same way. So we start on the inner or back side, then we do the same thing at the front. The next one at the back, at the front, keeping tension on our twine at all times. Do this until you have attached all of your top dowel rods. When you reach the other side of your dowel rod here, finish up the same way as before. So pass around under these two pieces of twine here, like this, forming a hitch. Then make a loop, pass it over the dowel rod. Make another loop, pass it over the dowel rod. So for now, our lashing is done. There are various ways that you can use to secure the two working ends in place. I'm going to show you two ways. The first one is a quick way, which doesn't require any additional tools. Flip your stand over. Tie the two ends together using a reef knot. So tension your two ends, then tie your knot. Now here, getting the proper tension is not easy. So I do it slowly, gradually, trying to keep the tension in the two ends. When I have this done in a decent way, I'm going to finish up the two ends with a couple of hitches. The first hitch, the second hitch. The other end, exactly the same way, a hitch, a second hitch. You would now simply trim the two ends, and they are secure and in place. I'm going to show you a second way of securing the working ends. This is the way that I prefer. You're going to need some sort of a tool, for example a lacing needle. Flip your stand around, grab one of your ends, attach your lacing needle. Run the end under a few sections here on the side. You can go as deep as you want. Go under the seam sections again. Forming an opening like this. Feed the end top down through the opening. Tighten up firmly. Now if you want, you can pass the end under again. This is not needed. Like this. Do the same thing with the other end, so attach your lacing needle. Run the end under a few sections here on the side. Then run the same end again under the same sections. Forming an opening like this. Feed the end top down. Tighten up. If you want, run the end under these sections again. This is optional. Then simply trim the two ends. For the most part, our stand is complete. In some cases, you will want to avoid this sort of a wobble that you can see here. So to do this, on the bottom, we're going to do a simple bracing. So this completely removes any wobble and makes for a rigid stand. For the bracing, I'm using about 5 feet of twine. To begin, I'm going to tie a bowline knot on one end of my twine. So, a loop, then feed the end through, bottom up, behind the standing end, back into the loop. Tighten up, and you have your bowline knot. Pass the bowline knot over an end of a dowel rod, travel to the opposite side. Here, we're going to tie a clove hitch. So, a loop, pass it over. A loop, pass it over. Tighten up firmly, travel alongside your dowel rod to the other side, again tie a clove hitch. A loop, pass it over. A loop, pass it over. Tighten up, travel to the opposite side, again here, tie a clove hitch. So, a loop, pass it over. A loop, pass it over. Let's do one more for good measure. So a loop, pass it over. To secure the working end of my bracing, I'm going to run it under a few sections here alongside my dowel rod. So, pretty much the same way that I used to finish my lashings. Under a few sections, once, twice, then I'm going to pass my working end through the opening, then tighten up. You can bury your working end a bit deeper, like this. Then trim it. You are done. So guys, we've completed our lashed stand. The floor lashing used to make it is going to come in handy in various projects. Thank you for joining me and see ya next time.